All right, Shalom. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me his truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring all truth and sincerity. To you, I say Shalom. It's the brother Amon Ariel from the GMS Charlotte camp, coming back with another Lord willing, edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And pretty much, and as you see in the title, okay, we are beginning to see the byproduct of Eve's rebellion, okay, because the Lord, as He is taking down Esau and Edom, all right, He is also taking down, all right, Eve, the so-called black woman, okay, because we know that this is her kingdom just as much as Esau's kingdom, and because she has taken on the philosophy of the serpent. All right. She has aided in the destruction of her own nation. So what we are beginning to witness is the Most High beginning to turn the sword upon her and knocking her off of her pedestal, man. All right. So I just wanted to, go into a few things, and Lord willing, this is edifying. So I want to start here in the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and 7, and it reads, "There be things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy." Now, when we normally bring this out, we go into the fall of our enemy, all right, how we are witnessing the fall of Babylon the Great, because we understand this is Esau Edom's kingdom. But we also, utilize the scripture as well as, going against the so-called black woman, because we understand that she, all right, is right behind Esau as the one of the biggest enemies of the Israelite man as well. Okay, because she has a huge part in the destruction of the so-called black man. All right, as you can see through society, Eve has done a number on our people. Okay, so we are witnessing the fall of her as well. So for you butthurt, dudes out there and you women, when you hear this being said, you will sit there and be like, how could you sit there and call the woman, your woman, the so-called black woman, your enemy? Well, guess what? The scriptures tell us that the so-called black woman is our enemy. All right. This is Micah chapter 7 and verse 10. It says, "Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, Where is the Lord thy power? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now she shall be trodden, or it's like it, now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the street." So the scriptures say, "Then she that is mine enemy shall see it." Who is the she is talking about? It's talking about the Israelite woman, because the Israelite woman sided with the serpent, and with that, she has aided in the destruction of her own man. All right. And we know this going into things like the Willie Lynch letter. Okay. How they pretty much, created this gender war to where the woman is against the man. And we know women are naturally attracted to power. So Eve chose the side with the power. So she chose the enemy. So therefore, that made us, at odds with our own woman. All right. Because we know going into slavery, we had no power to defend her. So as the slave master would, go into our living quarters and pretty much, take our women and have their way with them, and then bring them back to us, and they sat and saw that we had no power to protect them. So over a process of time, it was in Eve to pretty much, make it to where she had to look out for herself, and doing so, she chose to side with the so-called white man. All right. So all this, being said, we wanted to bring out how Esau and Eve are both being brought down. But this lesson, I want to specifically focus on the so-called black man, or it's like a black woman. So in here, all right, brothers are pretty much, went into this, but we're gonna go into it as well. So, Eve is getting, massive, firings. Okay, this is a job report dealing with the month of April. And it says a job report or April job report shows black women accounted for 106,000 firings. All right. It says black female layoffs are the most across all demographics. A new study from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that black women lost the highest number of jobs in the month of April, accounting for 106,000 jobs. Now, is this by coincidence? No. This is the Most High bringing the sword upon our people. All right, because the scriptures tell you, First Peter 4:17, that judgment is going to start at the house of God first. And we understand that women make up the tribes just as much as the men, and actually they make up more because going on statistics, we understand that women outnumber men, around 7-1. Okay, so the Lord is going to judge the woman as well because the scriptures talk about the Lord is not a respecter of persons. All right. So the Lord judges women just as much as men. And so these are the beginning stages of judgment, coming to the woman because one of the things that, Eve did was choose her jobs over raising families. All right. So you see a lot of broken households being formed because Eve chose work over her womanly duties, over her motherly duties. All right. She'd rather, be a hard working, a slave to her slave master than be a wife and a mother to her household, man. Okay. So this is the Lord beginning to touch her. All right. It says the data showed that there was a full percentage point increase from March 5.1% to April 6.1%, whereas the job rate for white and Hispanic women remained the same from month to month. These numbers can be attributed to federal, corporate, and other roles across numerous industries. Some speculate that this comes as a result of the Trump administration rollback of DEI programming and hiring of those who may be considered as diverse. Concealed examples have shown up through the firings of more prominent black figures over the last couple of months. This includes former Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden and Gwenine Wilcox, who served on the National Labor Relations Board, to name a few. And them DEI cuts, all right, did a major number on a lot of black women because we know a lot of these black women have high position jobs in this world. All right, so when Trump came into office and him and Elon Musk began, you know, rolling back a lot of the DEI programs, all right, a lot of so-called black women, felt the impact of that, man. Okay, it says some have concluded that this may be the result of cultural shifts within the workforce. Statistically, each time there are layoffs in a company, African Americans and other minority groups such as Hispanics are the first to be let go. This concept is referred to as the last in, first out, where those who are most recently hired are typically the first to be let go. This could be directly linked with the disproportionate number of minorities who are not in leadership roles across numerous industries, which is why the impact of these situations on the white Americans isn't typically prevalent. Though African American women have stronger representation in the workforce when it comes to participation rate, this does not make a difference when it comes to job security for many. The BLS study also revealed that black men had a slight increase in unemployment for the month of April after initially faring ahead of black women with a 6.1 percent rate in March 2025. Historic data from 2024 shows that the black men have led the charge month over month with the unemployment rate in comparison to most genders. All right, so this pretty much being the point on this. All right, Eve is beginning to feel the drawbacks of the wrong choices that she made because going into the whole dynamic of how Esau set this society up, all right, he pretty much, used all right things like feminism, you know, and rap music and these different things to pretty much make the black woman feel like she was over the black man. All right, giving them more opportunities and all these things to make their own men look inferior to them. All right. So with that being said, we want to go into all right the driving force of what brought Eve to this conclusion. All right. So let's pull this up real quick. Salakia. All right, I got this from the Elder Ashiar. All right, so we're gonna watch, a good little bit of this clip because hey, Alex Jones exposes a lot, when it came to the destruction that feminism had on the Israelite woman. All right, and the Israelite household period.
And I ask you to look in the mirror and ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? To break down how they had to get women to see men as the enemy. And again, she went on to say, we'll use blacks because they're...
And right there, you heard it. Play it back, just so you confirming what I just said for the naysayers, man.
To see men as the enemy. To break down how they had to get women to see men as the enemy. And again, she went on to say, we'll use blacks because they're the weakest group, they're the poorest group, they're the most institutionalized group.
Right. So right there off the bat, prove what I just read about how the Israelite woman views the Israelite man as the enemy. All right. So he created that divide amongst the Israelite men and women. All right. The gender wars. Okay. So Eve fed into the narrative and went all with it. So everything that we see her doing here in Babylon the Great is to bring the downfall of her own man. Okay. So going back, Micah 7:10, then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy power? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the street. Now I'm gonna read this after this video, goes off. I just wanted to bring that out. All right, reinforcing the point.
At that time, just being 70 years or so out of slavery in the 1860s, she said, what we'll do is just like we had the old system of the women were brought into the house. You're getting the big secret of feminism right now. Just like the house slave was always a woman and the men were kept out in the barn and weren't allowed to read or write, we're going to set women up as the minders of society again. There's actually Roman handbooks on this from 2,000 years ago where they talk about, with white slaves at that time, mainly from Western Europe, you bring in the slaves, you kill a couple of the men in front of the women, you even kill some of the kids, and you tell the women, it's your job to keep these men in line or we're going to kill all of you. And they found that women, believing they were protecting people, would become incredible oppressors and tattletales over the men. And then within a few generations, they started enjoying the oppression and didn't even do it to, quote, protect the men. I was reading about how they retranslated those Roman documents from Latin into French.
Now, what he just said, all right, I wanted to read this here in, it's like you put the camera back on. Salakia. So what he just said, all right, we're gonna read this out of the Willie Lynch letter, all right, the making of a slave. Okay. So in this part, it goes into the breaking process of, it says the African woman, but we know this is him going into breaking the Israelite. All right. So it says, then take the female, run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance and submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of bitch out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offspring in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. All right. So jumping down, it says, in her natural uncivilized state, she will have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male, she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and will raise the female offspring to be dependent like her. Nature has provided for this type of balance. We reverse nature by burning and pulling one civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles, meaning she will make the male effeminate and make the female masculine. All right. It says, for fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out in front and the man behind and scared. This is the perfect situation for sound sleep and economics. All right. So this is exactly what was said, all right, by Alex Jones just now, man. All right. This is how Esau broke the Israelite household, all right, and pitted the male versus the woman. Okay. Because what they were doing by destroying, all right, the masculinity out of the Israelite man, they made the woman, all right, look at the man as inferior to her. So her whole mindset going throughout all this was pretty much to make it to where she can't depend on the man to protect her so she can survive. So her survival tactic ultimately was for her to be dependent on her survival, which causes her to pretty much, be totally submissive to the slave master. So as you heard him say, all right, they will raise the children up, all right, in a means to where they're perfect slaves for the system. All right. So this is aided in how Esau has destroyed the dynamic of the Israelite household, man. All right. And I get a couple of precepts on the comment board. All right. Shalom, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah Bashem, Kodash, Barakathum, to all the brothers, sisters on the comment board. All right. So real quick, this is Jeremiah 31 and 22. How long will thou go about, O backsliding daughter? For the Lord have created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. And this is what has happened. All right. Because Esau Edom, all right, has allowed the Israelite woman to be on top. All right. She's the one that runs the household, man. All right. So now these women have been given the ability to go around the authority of the man, which is why the respect is not there for the Israelite man, because we have no true power here, man. All right. And so as we're seeing the power dynamics pretty much begin to break down, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua is pretty much, reversing, all right, everything that Esau turned upside down. So Isaiah 29 and 16, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Right. So through the witchcraft of Esau Edom, he has caused, the creation to pretty much forget their original function of why they were created. Okay. We know, according to the Bible, the Israelite woman was made to be a helpmate unto her man. But we understand as well, all right, Esau Edom pretty much has programmed Eve with this mentality of thinking that she's over the man through things like feminism, which Alex Jones is going to go into in this video. All right. So let's go back.
Then into English by the 1820s or so in the sugarcane plantations. I'm giving you history here. Heavy truth, folks. The sugarcane plantations of the Caribbean would bring a ship of slaves in. Already half of them on average from Africa would have died in the trip over because they didn't really feed them from Africa. And they'd get them off the coffin ship, and then they would kill the most well-spoken, obvious leader, just from body language and things, of the blacks that was alive in front of the women. They'd beat their brains out, or they would hang them. And they'd tell the women, we're going to kill all your male children if you don't keep everybody in line. Is that understood? And they found the women would do whatever they were told. So that's where you get the mammy in all the Three Stooges movies and stuff, bossing the black guys around, and in all the old movies that are still, representing what really happened in history, where the black woman is in charge, and she's got the big mammy outfit on, Aunt Jemima, and she's in there telling those black men, you do what you're told.
Right, and this is why you see the influx of these giant, fat, angry looking black women statues popping up all over America, because that's the stereotype that Esau Edom perpetrated, all right, for Eve to come into, because that was their biggest flex that they used to destroy the Israelite household, man. All right. This is why you see that spirit. That's a spirit, all right. That mammy, that's a spirit that was conjured into the so-called black woman. And this is why you see the majority of Eves out here, looking like Respucia from Norbit, man. Okay, that's a demon that's on these women. That's why you see a lot of them. They're big and fat like that. They have nasty attitudes. All right, they can't be reasoned with. All right, because this is one of the demons that Esau put on Eve, man. Okay.
In fact, in this culture, got so dominant that my father, when he would pick cotton, and he did pick cotton, even though he came from a middle-class family, he was sent out to pick cotton, that he would go out and pick cotton on adjacent farms, and that they had groups of black people out there picking the cotton. And do you know who the bosses were? Giant, powerful black women. And they were even bossing the poor whites around. Now, that's what my dad grew up in East Texas. And my dad's only, 63 years old, okay? My dad grew up with a black woman foreman telling the poor whites what to do. Now, that is that culture, ladies and gentlemen.
And Esau was able to pretty much, perpetuate that, because we know that Eve, all right, she has a lust, all right, for power, because it's a natural state for a woman to be submissive. But one of the curses that came upon Adam and Eve in the fall was that when Eve brought that philosophy. Yeah, the brother said Big Shirley reincarnated. Yeah. But yeah, when Eve brought that that philosophy to Adam, all right, and the judgment was rained out, all right. One of the things that it was said, we'll grab this real quick. This is Genesis chapter 3 and 16. I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, "Then he said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain will you give birth, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you." Because we understand one of the dynamics that the serpent tempted Eve with, all right, was this feminism. Okay, and he showed her that in the future, that if you listen to what I'm telling you, you will be able to control the man, and this is what we're seeing today. Okay, because Eve has a what they call penis envy. This is why when you see these women going into the business world, they wear them damn pantsuits. All right. This is why the scriptures tell you that women aren't supposed to wear men clothing. All right, let me get that real quick, because that puts a spirit, on these women. All right. And when you see a lot of these women that wear them pantsuits, man, hey, that attitude is on 1,000, man. All right, it's like them pants amplify that demon in Eve, man. All right, look for that real quick. All right, so this is in the law. This is Deuteronomy chapter 22 and 5. It says, "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy power." Right. So those pantsuits, all right, are pretty much in a symbol of Eve's pride, because like I said, when they get up into those high, them high paying positions, like we see those cushy government jobs or whatnot, Eve becomes proud, because now you have that saying, amongst Jake, who wears the pants. All right, and a lot of these Evites, all right, these Keishas, they they have that spirit of I run my family. All right, I run my man. My man don't tell me what to do. I tell him what to do, man. Because he had been made the breadwinner here, man. And this goes all the way back to slavery, like Alex Jones is going into. Because what will happen, all right, when these slave masters, all right, will go and mess with the black woman, okay, they will a lot of times, fall in love with them, and they will write them into their will. So if the slave master would die, all right, they will pretty much leave his inheritance unto Eve. And what it came to find out that Eve was an even more a horrible slave master than the man, than the slave man. It's like the slave master, the Edomite. And that's not hard to imagine because you see that in today's time, man. If you, for all you brothers that have have had so-called black women managers and bosses, all right, they go out of their way to flex their power on you, man. Okay, but that goes back to that penis envy because that's the spirit within them that they want to shit on the black man to make him seem like he's less than, that he's inferior. All right, but like I said, that goes back to that mammy demon all the way back during the plantation times, man. All right. And like I said, those pants, they amplify that vibration, man. Okay.
I've read in the history diaries about breeding programs in this country where they would actually single out the most aggressive, largest black women. This goes back 200 years. You can look this up. This is the history you're not supposed to know, to be the dominant people. So that's all Katy Perry and all this is. That's what feminism is. In fact, there's Margaret Sanger, the KKK. Show them that. That's powerful. In fact, we'll give people a full screen of that. I'm begging you, that's a real photo, to look into this now. When your wife comes home and dresses you down and tells you she's the boss, she's reading government propaganda developed in Rome 2,000 years ago to make women the slave masters.
And you can guarantee that all this was shown to Eve all the way back then in the garden, man. Okay, because Esau, Edom figured out exactly what to tell the so-called black woman in today's time to make it to where they don't respect their man anymore, man. All right, and it was done, all right, through a cunningly devised, a scheme, which came in the form of feminism, man. All right, going back to Gloria Steinem. All right, you had that famous picture with her and the black woman, with the afro, with the fist in the air, but not even realizing that feminism was a psyop created by the CIA to destroy the Israelite household, man. All right, and in doing so, they were able to castrate the man and take him out the picture, and give Eve all the leverage and control over the family. All right, real quick, this is Mark chapter 3 and 27. It says, "No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and when he will spoil his, and then he will spoil his house." All right. So Esau Edom, went into, all right, the mind of our people, and he subverted their thinking by putting in these bullshit ideas and philosophies. All right. So going into this word bind, the strong man, we're going to go to definition 2. This is Strong's G1210, and I believe the word is dio. But definition 2, it says, metaphor, Satan is said to bind a woman bent together by means of a demon as his messenger, taking possession of the woman and preventing her from standing upright. Right. And he was able to do that by putting all this nonsense into her head. All right, pretty much telling them things like, look, you don't need a man. All right, as he's gonna go into in his lesson, they were gonna dangle all these different rewards, Section 8, government funding, all right, alimony, child support, and these different things. They incentivize destroying the Israelite man because they didn't want that household structure to be the way that the Lord created it to be, man. All right, because it's a strong dynamic behind family. All right, a household, that the scriptures say, a man and woman that that's dwelling in unity. That's a beautiful thing in the eyes of the Lord, man. all right? Because a woman is supposed to have the mindset of her husband, all right? But we have in this society to where he has made a divide between the man and the woman to where we're at odds with each other, and that's because Esau pretty much took the woman and filled her with all type of demonic ideas and pit us against put us against each other, man. Okay, so like I said, you have Planned Parenthood, Gloria Steinem with the feminism and all these different things. These were all proponents to destroy Eve, man, and she took these on proudly and have flexed these powers since getting them. Okay, because when you go into the different ways of feminism, which I've done videos on that, on this channel, just go look for them if you're interested. But the different waves, the first, second, third, fourth wave, these were all subversion tactics to pretty much destroy the Israelite man. All right, by using the woman against us, man. All right, so real quick, since I said that. All right, this is this, I can use this. Yeah, this is Titus chapter 1, verse 10. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. Right. And so it's a lot of our people that still, push these demonic philosophies upon our people. And you even see that amongst, the circumcision, man. And one of those talking points is the thing of how the Israelite man is able to have multiple wives, man. Okay, because you have this proponent of monogamy, which is an Edomite custom. All right, because our people never practice that, but polygamy is a Israelite tradition. Okay, when you go into the scriptures, all right, it was lawful for men to have more than one woman, but monogamy was another form of power that Esau gave unto Eve for her to flex that control over the man. All right, which is why men have to sneak around and pretty much jump through hoops for them to deal with their natural nature of things, man. All right. But as I said, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. Right. And so you had our own people. All right. You look at women like Oprah. All right, Gayle King. These different rappers, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B. These were women, all right, of our own nation that were used to implant these ideas of fuck a nigga, niggas ain't shit. All right, you don't need a man. All right, go get your own bag and all this other bullshit. These are all ideas that came from the serpent. Okay, and has been ingrained in the Israelite woman's mind to the point to where she thinks that these are her own ideas, but they're not. They were implanted into your thinking. Okay. So let's go on. Oh, I can actually get this one. This is a good one. Isaiah 3 and 11. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. And this is what we're going into. All right. We're just prefacing everything as we bring the lesson along. But hey, the reward of the wicked is being given unto his into their hand. And Eve is a part of the wicked. All right, of what we're going into, man. And we're beginning to see the rewards of that wickedness that she has brought upon herself, man. All right. Verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. Right. Because the Israelite woman being in the forefront has brought nothing but death, all right, to the Israelite nation. Right. That's why the scriptures say of the woman came death, and through her we all die, roughly paraphrasing. All right. Because women, all right, are not natural leaders. All right. When you give a woman, the freedom to do what she wants, nothing but chaos, comes out of that. And as we have seen, Esau has capitalized that to where during the time of the sexual revolution, all right, they brought things like birth control into play, And all these were, the proponents used to pretty much allow the Israelite woman to destroy herself, and the byproduct of that is the nation being destroyed, because now there's no responsibility for these women. All right, they can bring forth children with no responsibility. If they don't want to take care of it, they can destroy the man, milk him for his money. All right, and they can get married to men, destroy the marriages, all because they don't feel like being tied to him no more, and it's all aids in the destruction of the man. All right, but like I said, when you go into the family dynamic of why these things are put in place, the way the Lord set it up, all right, hey, women were a possession unto the man to help build his business, because that's really what family goes into, is a business. Matter of fact, let me get that for my Zondervan. All right. So let's go into this word. I believe it was family. All right. So this is off the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, dealing with the word family. It says the concept of the family in the Bible differs from the modern institution. The Hebrew family was larger than families today, including the father of the household, his parents if living, his wife or wives, all right, and children, his daughters and son-in-laws, slaves, guests, and foreigners under his protection. Marriage was arranged by the father of the groom and the family of the bride, for whom a dowry or purchase money was paid to her father. It says polygamy was polygamy and concubinage were practiced, though not favored by the Most High. Now we know that that's off, because it's laws to prove that the Most High was completely fine with men having multiple wives. But the caveat to that was that you had to take care of, all right, your duties to all the women. All right. So just, spitting the bones out of that. It says the husband could not divorce the wife, but she could not divorce him. The father of a family had the power of life and death over his children. To dishonor a parent was punishable by death. So, showing you that the father had all the power of the household, but Eve, all right, was pretty much incentivized to take and destroy, all right, that power from the man. All right. Let me get one more just to show that. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse 9. It says, for the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooteth out foundation. This is why the order of the household was set the way the Lord created it to be. Like it says, and I believe that's 2 Corinthians 11 and 3. All right. The order of the house is the father, Yahweh. All right. Then it's Yahweh Shai, the man, woman, and the children. All right. But this society puts the woman over the man because Esau wants dysfunction. All right. So going into slavery, that was the beginning of that programming being set, and through generations of the trauma and everything being passed down, Eve was incentivized to destroy the household through the goodies that the serpent gave unto her, man. All right, so let's go back.
They call them the house slaves. They have an obnoxious term when it's blacks. The house, what's. And so let me expand on this, giving you the deep truth here. That's why in the 60s, blacks were demanding their liberty, because they'd gone to war in World War II. They had their own communities, their own wealth. Illegitimacy was much lower than it is now. Crime rates much lower. And they said, Margaret Sanger and others, had developed the program. They said, what we'll do is we'll get them on welfare. We'll tell them, you can't have a man in the house. We'll give you money. And we'll reinstitute the house slave model. And that's what they've created now. And black men are told, just like white men, everybody else, to be lethargic, don't work, be a gangster, just get women pregnant all day, that you're winning when you do that, when you don't take care of your kids. This is now being exported back where it came from with German and Gaulish slaves in Rome 2,000 years ago. Started out with whites, but this was done to whites. And now it's being done to blacks, and now they've beta tested it on blacks, and they're rolling it out. So Margaret Sanger, Gloria Steinem, the idiot Katy Perry doesn't know what she's doing. She's just paid by the Marines to do this, so does it. I mean, she's obviously doesn't have, two brain cells rubbed together. And you just look in her eyes. She's got one-way eyes. But when you look at the snake eyes of a Margaret Sanger or the devil eyes of a Gloria Steinem, they know how to run savage ops on our families. And they've devastated things. Blacks were, depending on what area, 30% illegitimate, 40% illegitimate. When you are illegitimate, that means you're 3 to 4 times more likely to be in prison or involved in crime. Now blacks are 92% illegitimate. Whites are 50% illegitimate now. Hispanics are about the same number as whites. And you can just see it. Society totally falling apart, totally crumbling. And so I just want to right now say to Gloria Steinem and to the Ku Klux Klan, and to Margaret Sanger there with the Klan, who the liberals worship, I want to say you've done a great job. You have really screwed people up. And of course, they've also got the liberals.
All right, and you pretty much stop that one right here. But everything that he's saying is factual, all right? Because the mindset of where Eve gets this from, all right, goes back to, like I said, Gloria Steinem, Margaret Sanger, and people, like that. Because Esau Edom was able to program the woman to be the enemy of the nation. Okay, so let's go back to that Micah 7:10 again. This is why the scriptures describe her as being the enemy. All right, this is Micah 7:10. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it. All right, and what is she seeing? Her fall. All right, the judgment that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is beginning to bring up to her, man. All right, as we're going into the different, the job cuts. All right, the taking away of the benefits, like the lesson I did a few days ago or last week, going into the DI cuts, the cuts of the Medicaid and the food stamps. All right, Esau is beginning to take those goodies away from Eve, man. But this is all judgment from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man. So hey, it's beautiful. All right, we're witnessing the fall of our enemy. Okay, it says, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy power? All right, because hey, these so-called black women, they don't respect the authority that the Most High has given her, man, because the man is supposed to be your Lord. All right, did not Sarah call Abraham Lord? All right, and the same mentality that we see in these women today is the same mentality that you see in examples like Job's wife. All right, when Job was catching all that hell, what did she tell Job? Let me get that real quick. Job 2:9. Then said his wife unto him, doest thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. All right. These women don't believe in the Most High. Okay. I don't give a damn how much they say they believe, man, because that's an opportunity, come up. All right. They're gonna show that they're gonna, choose them. All right. Now this doesn't speak to every single, Israelite woman on the planet, because you do have women that are members of the elect. All right, the elect lady. So that doesn't apply to y'all that are trying. Okay. But the point is, you have to be trying, all right, just as much as the men of the Lord, as we are, repenting and trying to change our ways, to the Lord. You women got to do the same thing. But this is going into the wicked women of our people. Okay, because like I said, you have to take accountability for your actions, and just like Esau, all right, Eve has been ducking accountability this whole time, but now she's seeing the byproducts of what her rebellion has caused, man. All right, you are being seen just as hated as Esau is beginning to be hated, man. All right, this is why you have that new term that's been floating around called black fatigue. All right, and a lot of that is put on you so-called black women because the world is tired of these ratchet, hoes, man. All right, that want to just walk around, half naked. I want to twerk everywhere. That playing this, raunchy ass music, bitches like Sexy Red and Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, Sukiana. Hey, people are tired of that. Hey, morality is missed in this society, man. All right. So the Lord is beginning to rain the fruits of your labor on your head, man. All right. It says, mine eyes shall behold her, now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the street. So we're going to begin to see more and more judgment fall upon the black woman as we get closer to the day of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So, go into some more scriptures about this. Let's get Proverbs 16:8. It says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Now, I wanted to grab this because this is a beautiful example of that pride being shown, because hey, these women don't have any ounce of remorse when it comes to the destruction that they have done to the Israelite household, man. All right, showing you the mind of the average, nigger woman, man. All right.
Bitches are dumb. Y'all have a blessed day. I love all of you.
All right, and people are wising up to this. So this is why you see a lot of Eves begin to complain, because now the chickens are coming home to roost, man. All right, you're starting to see what this is beginning to cause you. All right, let's pull up something else. Because like I said, man, those goodies that you took pride in is beginning to get took, man. All right. Real quick before I put this on the screen, let's grab this in Proverbs 16:8. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And I'm gonna grab this here in Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the spirit shall of the spirit reap life everlasting. Right. So Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is not mocked. All right. So all this destruction that the so-called black woman has brought unto the Israelite, household, the Israelite nation as in general. All right. Now she's beginning to feel that aftermath of this, man. All right. And her kingdom is crumbling along with Esau Edom, man.
Women, they are doing the same thing to us that they did to black men 40 years ago, which is pushing us out of the workforce. That's what they did to black men. And that is what caused the major divide within our community with regards to the gender wars. We saw black men the way they wanted us to see them because they didn't have the upward mobility that we had because of our jobs that we were able to get in the federal government. For one, the federal government was one of the biggest job employers for black women, and they're pushing us out left and right. We lost more jobs last month than any other demographic, and those jobs are not coming back. And if they come back, they're not going to give them to us. I don't care what degree you got, because you can see right now they don't care nothing about those degrees. As soon as we started getting it, they ain't mean anything anymore. I say this to say we gonna have to work with black men. Whatever grief you got with black men, get over it. It's time for us to work together. We need them and they need us, and this is just more proof of that.
And this is where she's wrong, because the Israelite man doesn't need the Israelite woman. Okay, because the thing is, all right, we hold the power within our seed, so we can actually bring back the Israelite nation by getting with any other woman of any other nation. But see, the so-called black woman, you need the Israelite man, because you don't understand that without the man's protection, you are left wide open. All right. So here it is, the majority of it, you chose your degree, you chose your job, you chose the bag over the man. All right. the Lord is going to allow you to sit with that in the time of judgment. So, as saying, I remember watching Coach Greg Adams going to when the barbarian, come through the gate, you ain't gonna have no protection, man. And that's what you're going to begin to see, which is why you're starting to see a lot of that backpedaling take place to where now women are starting to acknowledge that they need the black man. Well, it's too late for the good majority of you, man. All right.
My sisters, the roosters are coming home. My sisters, everything you did is finna come back on you because they have people in place, government-wise, to show you we used you to destroy the village.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have no use for you no more. Your daddy ain't there. Your husband ain't there. Your son is raised wrong. Your daughter is watching you twerk. You have done what we wanted you to do well in destroying the village. The father of your child is probably in court with you over nothing. We have used you to the same way, like back in the day, Eve ate from the forbidden tree. This is the same thing. You ate from the forbidden tree. You went and used a system that destroys you to destroy your family. And now, with this administration in, they have no use for you. Remember all the female black mayors and everything that was happening and all like that?
Yeah.
They ain't got no use for that shit no more. I see the girl. We are the most educated. Yes, they sold you a degree that ain't finna be worth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You who have aged out and fell for the sucker shit in destroying your village, your family, and yourselves, the only thing you can do is try to tell your children, don't do what I did. All you women 40, 50, 60, it's over for you. You need to explain to your children, don't do what I did. Don't go around here talking about you don't need a man publicly.
Hey, that's it. Y'all finished. Nobody wants you anymore. Okay. This is why at the end of the day, hey, men are wising up to you women out here, man. All right. This is why, we are witnessing Eve coming to reality. All right. You are the least desirable on the whole planet. All right. And this is because this is what happens when you trust in oppression. All right. Put this on the screen real quick. All right. I had Googled this the other day and took a screenshot because I tried to look it up before I went on here on the laptop. And it couldn't find the exact wording like it said. So, like I said, I'm glad I screenshotted it. But I'm going to leave this on the screen. Let me read this real quick. This is Psalm 62:10. It says, trust not in oppression and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them, because we understand it was a stupid thing to do to think that you could rely on the handouts from the devil this whole time, man. Okay, because now we are witnessing Esau begin to show his true feelings of how he feels about, he's been showed you how he felt about the Israelite man, but now he's beginning to show you women out here what he really thinks about you as well. Okay, because now he was your last line of defense, all right, for you to pretty much, continue on in la la land here, man. All right, because the Israelite man been done with y'all. All right, when that red pill movement, jumped off, around 2019, 2020ish, that was the beginning of men, beginning to stand up against the bullshit that these women were bringing. All right, So now your last line of defense, which is the oppressor, all right, he's beginning to cut you off too, man. So this is why the scriptures, warn you, trust not in oppression and become not vain in robbery. You women thought you was gonna be able to rob the Israelite man forever. But like I said, as we're witnessing the downfall of Esau's kingdom, the byproduct of that is Eve is fallen too. Okay. This is Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, say of the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover what they covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Okay, and this is why you've seen a lot of these Israelite women out here starting to cry out about how they're coming to the realization that they need a man. All right, women are talking about they want to go back to being in their soft girl era. They want to talk about how now they see the importance of why men are needed. All right, they're trying to double back, but it's too late. Like I said, now she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her. Now shame is all on you, Israelite women, because you trusting in oppression. You wanted to continue to destroy the man. Well, here's the byproduct. All right. So as you constantly hear all throughout the internet, all right, you women, you black women are the least desired in the world. All right. Now, I typed in on Google what race of women is deemed most undesirable. Now, this is from the AI overview. Some research indicates that black women are often perceived as less desirable in dating scenarios. One study of dating websites users in 2014 found that black women were rated as least desirable by men of every race. So nobody wants the Israelite woman, okay, the so-called black woman, and it's not hard to see why. Okay, it's important to understand that this is a complex issue with societal preferences. Excuse me. It says, and societal preferences are influenced by various factors, including ingrained racial biases and stereotypes. Some researchers argue that ingrained white heteronormative standards of attraction, desirability, and gender aesthetics contribute to these biases, which are then reinforced by dating app algorithms. This means that dating apps, by matching users with others fit certain criteria, may inadvertently perpetuate existing societal bias. So really what it is nobody wants to put up with Eve's shit no more, man. All right. Eve isn't feminine. She's not submissive. All right. Hey, she's not fit. All right. She doesn't know how to be a woman, ultimately, what it comes down to. And so these things are beginning to be noticed. And like I said, men are wising up. All right. So this is you beginning to see, your destruction because of the action that you did unto the nation, man. All right. Yahweh Shem Yahushai is bringing that judgment, upon you now, man. All right. Because going into what we opened the lesson with, dealing with witnessing the fall of our enemy, all right, we are witnessing these gradual effects taking place, because normally when the scripture is brought out, we talk about it in totality, but no, we have to look at it in real time view. All right, we are gradually seeing that destruction hit. All right, just as much as we're seeing Babylon being destroyed day by day, we're seeing the Israelite woman as well in her kingdom being destroyed day by day, man. All right, it's a gradual process of watching our enemies fall, man, and we love it. Okay, because Yahweh Shem Yahushai is bringing judgment, man. All right, it says back in Isaiah 30:2, it says that I start back at 1. Woe to the rebellious children, say of the Lord, and the most rebellious out of the nation of Israel are you women. Okay, but due to your so-called freedoms. All right, it says that take counsel, but not of me, that cover what they covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. And Eve has took on the covering of the serpent, and that has given her license to completely destroy herself and the nation, man. All right. That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And that's what Eve did. This is what the whole lesson we were going into of how she was able to destroy the nation, man, through her, trusting in Esau Edom's, in his, government. All right. trusting in the goodies that he gave. Like I said, the government assistance, the welfare, alimony, child support, social media, and these were all proponents that Esau allowed Eve to use to destroy herself, man, and the nation. All right. So continuing on, verse 3. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And now what's happening? All right, Eve is beginning to feel it. Nobody wants her. All right, she's beginning to lose all her goods and trinkets. Okay, and this is all due to exactly what they were afraid of when Trump got put back in office. All right, why do you think Eve was so mad? All right, talking about they was gonna withhold the box from Jake. Talking about it was a trend. I forgot the name of that trend where they was talking about finding subtle ways of killing their husbands that they found that they voted for Trump. Wishing death upon the man. These are the byproducts of that because they understood that the Lord is setting order back into the earth. Now he's doing it through Trump, not saying Trump is righteous or anything like that, but some of the stuff that Trump is saying, all right, is putting things back in the perspective that it's supposed to be because the Lord is righting the ship, man. Okay, because some of the ideas, like you said, because Eve is a big ally of the most. All right, Eve is the big ally of pretty much dysfunction. So with Trump, it came into office and did all right. He's setting things right by moving them out the way. This is why look. You only got these jobs because of affirmative action. All right, for a requirement that we want to include you in. Because like I said, it was for the destruction. But like you heard Corey Holcomb talking about, you're of no use to him anymore, man. Okay, because as you've been seeing, Eve has slowly been pushed out over the process of time. When Biden was in office and they was pushing, that Mo and transgender hard, what was happening? You were getting replaced. This is why you had, the whole thing with the gender, the different genders in sports. Okay, trans people in sports dominating you women. All right, y'all going to Olympics, getting your ass beat by niggas that call themselves women. All right, you having all your different records being broke by these men. These trans so-called trans men, which is really it's like the trans women, which is really men. All right, these things are all showing that look, that covering that you covered yourself with is being took off because you're no longer looked at as useful anymore. All right, AI has taken over. All right, you're not needed. Just the point. All right. Isaiah 19:4, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, save the Lord of hosts. And that cruel Lord is Trump. And this is why the Lord specifically put him back in office, because before Esau Edom falls, the Lord wants his pride at the epitome of at the height. Okay, so Trump got into office and he was, quote unquote, righting the wrongs that Biden created while he was in office, man. And part of that, all right, was pretty much, putting you niggas back in the place that they view you at. This is why you see that scientific racism being brought back up, all right, and all that, man. All right, because Trump is that cruel Lord, man, and he's setting his people up to be, in the position to where they can win, man. All right. Because you gotta look at it, as he was saying, or the woman was saying in the first part of that video. Here it is, you trusting in your degrees and these jobs. What's happening now? Okay, they're bringing in these South African quote unquote refugees, and they're blessing them with all the goodies, just like they was doing to the migrants when Biden was in office, man. And who was the main ones feeling that crunch? The black women. Okay, because all this funding and these checks they were giving out, you got all these Eves that's struggling. All right, these single mother households and all that. Esau didn't give a damn about that shit, man. He's quick to give his people that money, man. All right, which is why going back, you should never trust an oppression. You made a living off of food stamps, SNAP, Medicaid, and all that. You're not supposed to be. Yeah, you were supposed to confide in the structure the Lord created, which is being subservient under your man, and y'all working out. All right, what could best work for your house, man. But you chose to destroy your house to go and trust in the crumbs that Esau was giving you, man. And now those crumbs are being taken from you. All right. This is Sirach 29 and 22. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold thee contented that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt not entertain. Thou shalt entertain and feast and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear better words, right? Because at the end of the day, man, Esau Edom is going to remove you out the way to make way for his people. All right. He has no concern about your welfare at the end of the day. You are a means to an end, and now that has come to an end. So now he's moving you out the way to make room for his people. All right. So it's better for you to suffer. All right. For us to be in this state of suffering and have Yahweh Shem Shah, provide for us than run to this devil for his goodies, because you see how that always works out, man. Go back a couple years back when Trump's first term happened, and they had that government shutdown for however long it was, man. You had all those black women crying, begging Trump to open the government back up because that's who their God is, man. They don't believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Here it is, all these so-called Christian, women talk about how much they love God and Jesus, but when it come down to it, your God is the so-called white man, and it shows. All right. So, like I said, these trinkets are beginning to get took. All right. Isaiah 32:9. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women. For the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Let me take this off the screen so I can. All right. So it says Isaiah 32:9. It says, rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, you careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. All right. Now, this is speaking to the nation of Israel as a whole, but like I said, we can apply this to the Israelite woman as well. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. And this is what's happening, man. As the Lord is stripping you bare of everything to show you that you made the wrong choice and where you put your trust in. All right, we're beginning to see Eve's downfall, man. Like I said, she's finally, reaping the fruits of her labor, and we love it because this is a long time coming. And just as much as we get on the wicked Israelite man, and you women are receiving your judgment as well, man. All right. Second Ezra 16:69. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. Going back to what we read in Micah 7 and 10, man. All right. Eve is starting to feel that reproach and that shame. And soon she's going to feel that sword. Okay. The sword is already being, sharpened now as she's losing these jobs. But when Esau really begins to open up on Israel, hey, Eve is going to be the main ones to feel it first, man. All right. This is what happens when you trust in oppression. So this is why, all right, as that shift is beginning to happen, and you're starting to see the sincere sisters beginning to repent from the error of the ways and seek, all right, that righteous covering in Yahweh Shem Yahushua through his elect men. Okay. This is Isaiah 4:1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat of our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach, right? Because it's going to come a time to where these women are going to start seeking out men of the Lord. And they're not going to care about the concept of sharing a man, because all they're going to worry about is just being covered in that time, because things are going to get so bad out here to where it's not even going to be a argument about sharing men, okay? Because as I said earlier, that's a proponent of Israelite culture, which is polygamy. All right, so they're not going to be worrying about how much money Jake bringing in. All right, like they said that looking for a 6-figure nigga, they're not going to be caring about that in that day. All they're going to want to do is be called by your name and be under your protection. because they're going to see that a man of the Lord is going to be the only way they're going to be able to be covered in the time of judgment. All right. This is Isaiah 13 and 12. And I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir, right? Because the Lord is bringing back the true value of the man, but not just any man, the Israelite man, because the Israelite man is the most sought after man in the whole world. This is why when you go on the internet, especially as of late, I've been seeing on social media, you've been seeing these women of other countries, all right, expressing their desire to get with a so-called black man, all right, going over, the different traits that they love about him and why they want one, all right. So here it is, you Israelite women get mad at the passport bros for leaving this place and going overseas so that they can be valued for their true value. So for a lot of you, it's going to be too late. But for the ones that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is waking up and he's preserving, all right, you're going to see, all right, your covering being, made by a elect man of the Lord, man. All right. So if you have one, hold on. And if you don't have one, pray that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua brings one, to you soon. All right. Because you're going to need that covering in the time of judgment. And I'm going to end it with this. Isaiah 32 and 2. And a man shall be in the hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest. All right, that tempest being that destruction. Okay, it says, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Right. So it says a man shall be the hiding place from the judgment. All right. So this is why the Lord is restoring the value of the Israelite man to what it's supposed to be. All right, because we are the true high value man. Right? The men of wisdom, knowledge, understanding of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. All right, that's the true thing that makes us valuable in the eyes of the Lord, and the whole world is going to soon come to that realization. So for you sincere women out there, it's best that you come to that realization now. And if you got a brother that you're interested in, man, you better go ahead and shoot your shot, because it's going to come a time to where getting a man is going to be scarce in that day, man. All right. So with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to close it out right here. I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say Shalom.